Hey everybody, Tim Anderson here, aka Renfail. Welcome back for another video if you are a returning subscriber. And this one's going to be a bit off topic, maybe, perhaps. In a roundabout way, it's about gaming and books and films and shows and everything else, but it's more about copyright and trademark and how this applies to a lot of different things. But we're going to be diving into Ed Sheeran's win on the Shape of You copyright infringement case. He just won that. And I want to kind of talk about some of the stuff beyond that as it applies to all these different things. I know it's a little bit different than the stuff I usually cover here on YouTube, but it fascinates me and I'd love to share my thoughts. The algorithm might not pick this one up, we'll see. But if you are new here, I would say, um, cool, like the video. Make sure you check out the other playlists here on YouTube because I do a lot of different stuff and it's quite different than this video. And if you do like all that stuff, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you can get all the other things I do, like book reviews, show reviews, film reviews, my Lotro streams, streaming Lord of the Rings Online, MMORPG, my game development stuff, as the founder of Stormhaven Studios and Wandering Hermits and all the stuff on the Weave and the Void. Check all that stuff out. Links to Discord and all that good stuff are down below. So first, uh, the first place I read about this morning, I've been sort of following this case as it's been going on. I'm not, Ed Sheeran's a very brilliantly talented musician. He's got a great sense of humor. I'm not a hardcore fan. I don't even think I could name more than a couple of songs by him. But I have been following the case because copyright stuff fascinates me because I've been a writer for 20 plus years now, and dealing with a lot of stuff over the years with copyrights and trademarks and everything else. I'm always interested when this stuff crops up, especially when you see artists continually getting hit with lawsuits over copyright infringement, and a lot of these are just frivolous. And this case fascinated me because I felt like it was another case of someone coming out of the woodwork, and just making a baseless claim based on, oh, you've got a couple of elements that sound similar to mine. Dua Lipa's also dealing with this right now. Um, Lots of other artists have had issues over the years. So the crux of this is that Ed Sheeran just won his case and he hits out at the baseless claims. And this is my favorite part was he did a video on social media, which is really cool, um, if you go pay attention to it. But basically, this is what he says. I'm going to quote from the article. This is the BBC article. And by the way, all these articles are going to be linked below. This is the BBC article. There's also one over at Forbes for the US audience. Um, in a video on social media, Ed Sheeran said there was a culture of, this is the culture he's explaining. A claim is made with the idea that a settlement will be cheaper than taking it to court even if there's no basis for the claim. And I'm like, dude, that is so true because I've had to deal with some really ridiculous copyright stuff over the years. And people who are greedy, greedy little mofos, are out there, little leeches that they are, and they will make ridiculously stupid claims around copyright just to try to get you into a settlement um, discussion, because in many cases it's easier and cheaper than actually going to court, even if you are entirely in the right, because court is expensive. But my favorite part of this is the fact that he goes on to say, coincidence is bound to happen when 60,000 songs a year are being released. Excuse me. 60,000 songs are being released every day on Spotify, which is 22 million songs a year, and there's only 12 notes that are available. And there's only so many notes, and he talks about this. He's really damaging to the songwriting industry. There's only so many notes and very few chords used in pop music. Now, I'm not going to dive into all the lawsuit stuff. You can read that at your leisure. It was a fascinating case. I think for me, the thing that I wanted to focus on specifically from a writing, game development, art, photography standpoint, all the things that I've been involved with over the years, is he talks about how there are only so many notes and so many chords that you can use to write songs. And when you have, and this is the part where he's kind of throwing shade at all of the musicians who throw stuff out on Spotify. I could say the same thing about Steam or GOG or Epic Game Store that allow self-publishing, itch.io, etc. When it comes to game development and then from a book writing standpoint, going to Amazon, where anybody and everyone can self-publish anything they want on Amazon. There are tens of thousands of things being pushed out every single day on every single platform by would-be authors, would-be artists, would-be painters, would-be photographers, making shit up here. Um, as a result, you're bound to have some sort of crossover ideas that match up and all this other stuff. And this case goes beyond just the music industry. I've seen a lot of baseless, frivolous lawsuits crop up over, this person took my idea for a TV show and they wait and like 20 years later they come out of the woodwork and they're like, this show is just like this script that I wrote back in 1987, and therefore I deserve, to get paid because they infringed on my copyright. Piss off. Like, I really feel like 99% of these cases are frivolous in nature and that it's mostly based on sheer coincidence. When you have tens of thousands of things being produced, there's going to be some similar ideas, especially, and this did not necessarily happen in the case of Ed Sheeran's Shape of You issue because they were, the person who sued him claimed that this is the thing. There was a claim made at some point during the lawsuit. This is the thing that really blew my mind. At some point during the claim, during the lawsuit, the person who brought the claim against Ed Sheeran said that he must have. This was the argument that the lawyers were made. He must have subconsciously copied their song because there's no way that Ed Sheeran wouldn't have heard it at some point along the way. Like, that is the most ridiculous argument that I've ever heard of in court. Like, you subconsciously infringed on my work because at some point you must have come across it. Therefore, you are automatically infringing on my copyright just because. This blows my mind. And this is something that for me, as someone who's been a writer for a very long time, who's done a lot of photography, videography, as a game developer, so on and so forth, um, this is the shit that terrifies me. Is because you have people out there who are just leeches looking for money, and they will use any excuse under the sun. So good on Ed Sheeran for winning this case. I feel like Judge Anthony Zaccaroli is spot on when he ruled that Sheeran had neither deliberately nor subconsciously copied um, the song, and admitting he acknowledged that there were similarities between the one bar phrase, but such similarities were only the starting point for a possible infringement of copyright. It's just sweet, sweet victory for Ed Sheeran. He totally deserves it. Um, I think there are some cases where you have artists, whether it's we all draw inspiration for somewhere, right? Like I can literally go back to when I read The Hobbit at 5 years old, and that work and reading that and Narnia and Lord of the Rings between the ages of 5 and 7 have absolutely influenced my work as a writer, right? But the idea that just because I write about elves or dwarves or have some form of halfling or some sort of short-statured creatures in my works is by no, it's by no means a copyright infringement or anything. Now, if I was taking the setting, and that's a little bit different, but the idea that we are taking common elements found in fantastical works through thousands of years of history and somehow we're infringing on other people's ideas. It just blows my mind. But the takeaway for me here was the idea that you can somehow, this is the most frivolous argument I've ever heard, that you can somehow subconsciously infringe on someone's copyright. That just shows that the type of person who was bringing the lawsuit was just a frivolous individual in the first place and was just looking for a quick cash grab because they were like, oh, this person has something that looks somewhat similar. He must have subconsciously whatever. I'm glad Ed Sheeran won. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Talk about it below. Like the video. Again, this is a lot different than a lot of the stuff I produce here on my YouTube channel, so let's see if the algorithm even runs with it today. If you did like it, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, check out all the other playlists. There's lots of stuff here. If you want to support the channel, you can join as a member. You can also subscribe over on the Patreon page for The World of the Weave and the Void, where my brother, my wife, and I are working on a 5th edition tabletop setting with the books coming out in June of this year. There's also a point and click game like King's Quest coming out later this year. You can play the free demo now. You can pre-order it over on the Patreon page. And of course, the Dragonlance type book series that's being published twice a month. Chapter 16 is due out this Thursday. Thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this really random off the wall video from my channel. See you next time.